Greetings, friends. It is the seventh Sunday of Ordinary Time for the year C, and it's hard to believe that we are getting really deep into the readings. And I think this is kind of preparing us for what we are approaching very soon, which is Lent. And I think the seventh Sunday of Ordinary Time's message of mercy is no different at all. What we see in the gospel is that Jesus reminds us to love our enemies and to do good to those who hate you. There are two examples of mercy that I can really think of. The first is that Detective Stephen McDonald of the New York Police Department shared his encounter with mercy, in which he encountered Shavard Jones, and all it took was the birth of his son. You see, what happened was back in the summer of '86, and at the time, Detective McDonald was just married less than a year, and he was expecting his first child, who would later become Connor. And there was a pivotal moment in his prayer. But let's back up here a little bit. So the summer of '86, the drug wars were kind of escalating, especially in poor side of New York, which of course at the time was Harlem. And some of the ways that these criminals would make a living would be to steal bikes and of course maybe sell them on a black market, so to speak. The police officers were on the lookout, and they were confronting these two young men. And Detective McDonald went in one direction to go after this kid named Shavard Jones. And as he got closer, he was ambushed to the point where Stephen McDonald was shot 3 times. One time was over his right eye, around where the brain is. The second would be right through the neck, in which it would snap his spinal cord, penetrate the spinal cord. And what will happen is he was inches away from death. That the police commissioner had everything ready for another police funeral, and there would be you would see the black bands around the badges of all the police officers. But a miracle happened. Even Officer McDonald knew that he had a purpose. That this moment in his life was teaching him something. And that something was to extend that hand of mercy to that person who shot him. He was hoping that him and that young man would go on speaking tours, go to assemblies across different schools, go to these men conferences, and speak at the message of mercy. Unfortunately, 3 days after Shavard Jones was released, he was killed. McDonald received some backlash when he decided to forgive his attacker. People were saying, well, why would you forgive him? He tried to kill you. The answers can be found in the gospel. Jesus said that you offer that one cheek, when someone strikes you in the one cheek, you offer the other. And I think McDonald did that. And he did good to someone that did something the complete opposite. My high school is named Mercy Career and Technical High School. And what a better time to have mercy than to extend that mercy now. Blessed are the merciful, as Jesus reminds in the Gospel of Matthew through the Beatitudes, for they would be shown mercy. In today's society, we need to extend that mercy. Early in his papacy, Pope Francis called for a field hospital. And that hospital is to help those that need mercy. Whether they have been wounded in battle, they were ridiculed, they were mocked, and at times there was physical, something physical happening in the midst of doing God's work. And I have seen some of it firsthand. I have seen people get attacked for doing God's work. I have seen pro-lifers who were roughed up. I've heard of stories of people getting roughed up, but they kept going. They were never deterred. There was even a state representative representing Pennsylvania in the district where there's a Planned Parenthood, and he used it, being the so-called public servant, to chastise, to ridicule, to mock women who are doing the work to help women decide to keep their baby. The representative's response: he never accepted the apology from the mom and the daughters who were present that one fateful day. They forgave him, but he never forgave them. Mercy is a two-way street. Actually, it's a multi-way street. You see, what Jesus lays out is that we must be willing to extend mercy, at the same time accept it. My brothers and sisters, friends in Christ, today, through the example of Detective Stephen McDonald, who passed away 5 years ago, who was willing to forgive his attacker, how are you willing to forgive that person? Mercy begins in the home. Even St. Teresa of Calcutta put it well when she said, "We have forgotten that we belong to one another." Today, when the world is in this dire need of compassion, mercy, and hope, we can begin with ourselves by going to God and asking for forgiveness. Then we can share that mercy with our family, our neighbors, and the world. Building on our own experience of mercy, we can more readily forgive others. So, what's the best way to show mercy and to accept mercy? Mercy can be expressed in simple ways. Encourage someone who struggles with doubt. Engage someone we do not know in conversation. Being kind to those. Instructing the ignorant. Admonishing the sinner. With charity, of course. Extending that hand of mercy to others. Giving them food. Giving them a drink. Welcoming them when they're among strangers. Worthy and faithful servants, are you ready to answer that call? Are you ready to be merciful and to receive mercy in return? Mercy will soften the hardened hearts in our society today. And it starts with you. Mercy begins with you. Show mercy today by first accepting mercy. The circle of mercy is timeless. Mercy holds us in God's loving care. And let us share God's loving care with others through His mercy. God bless.